Hi, I'm Peter from Coffee Pass and I'm here with André Eiermann talking about the journey to the WBC.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Firstly, André, thank you for coming on. And you've been on this channel a few times. For those that don't know you, even though we're going to talk about your journey, do you want a 30-second bio just to get the ball rolling?
Yeah, of course. Let's do that. So I started my coffee journey at the origin in Kenya and Tanzania, where I worked as a coffee trader, cupped up to 800 coffees a day. So that was a full immersion thing into the coffee world. And then I worked my way up until WBC. I worked in roasteries. I worked in a coffee academy. I launched a specialty coffee range. Then, as you might know, I competed in the Swiss Barista Championship in 2017, went to the Worlds, and from there I took a deep dive into the science of coffee. I worked together with the Zurich University of Applied Science, and we published a paper on grinding and espresso extraction. Then went into the world of beautiful coffee equipment, and this world took me here to Australia, where we are at this moment.
That's actually something I find quite interesting about you, is your journey to competing. Most people start off as baristas, possibly work up to working in the roastery, equipment side, maybe even going to the farms or the green beans, and then kind of have that overall perspective of coffee and compete. You sort of started from the ground up, in the sense of from the farms, then to equipment, skipped being a barista and went straight into competing. Not only did you do that, but from the time you decided to compete to the WBC, or the World Barista Comps, was under a year, which is very fast.
Yeah, it took me about 6 months to prepare for the Swiss Barista Championship. And you need to keep in mind, by that time I haven't really done coffee before. I've never really served espressos, I never textured milk, I hardly drank milk beverage. So that was quite a rough way to start getting used to grinders, equipment, how to texture milk. But once I won the Swiss Championship, I took 5 months off work. And I used these 5 months in Japan in an academy, and that was the time I needed to get ready for the World Barista Championships in Korea.
And that's another thing that was, sometimes a bit different to others. You were able to focus for 5 months. I know there's been some others, actually a few Australians, who have focused purely on the competition and been paid by sponsors, but not everyone's had that kind of luxury, but you really went and dived heavily, especially into the science of it.
Yeah, it was a great experience. So I spent a total of 5 months in Tokyo, so in Japan. During those 5 months, I extracted 23,000 espresso shots. I hardly ever had weekends, so during those 5 months I just spent maybe 4 weekends at home. There were days I practiced 24 hours. I still remember I walked from my hotel to the academy and then back, so in total about 1,500 kilometers, and I think I lost more than 14 kilos of weight. So the process was quite intense from that point of view, but I learned a lot. And whoever wants to compete, I strongly believe you should look at the journey, where you started this journey, where you came from, and then at the end of the practice time, where you ended up, and not just looking at the result, what happened on stage, but looking at the journey is a beautiful thing, and you should definitely enjoy that journey.
Talking about journey, after competing, I've got the book right here, but you did write a book talking about this journey and really putting it out there as a blueprint for others that want to compete, or if people are just curious to kind of understand what it looks like, because competing is very different to coffee in a cafe perspective or home perspective. So do you want to talk a little bit about what inspired you? I mean, the book's called Inspire and Get Inspired, but what inspired you to write the book and kind of the lesson learned along the way?
Yeah. So the goal I had in mind was, of course, you compete. You don't compete to lose. Normally you compete and you want to achieve the result. And I mean, becoming world champion would have been a dream, but you are one out of 60 extremely hard-working competitors. So saying, I'm the one who is going to win for sure, that would be an illusion. But of course I wanted to do well. At the end of the day, my big goal was to go through these 5 months, and with the work I have done, with the research that I have conducted, and with those results, I wanted to inspire the surrounding people around me, the people who spent with me those 5 months, the work colleagues at home in Switzerland, the community, the specialty coffee communities at that time in Switzerland, and I want to share the experience of those 5 months for those who cannot spend only 5 months on the preparation, and share and let's grow together with that knowledge to push the boundaries of specialty coffee. I strongly believe that the championship itself today is not like the Formula One anymore, because it's really too far away from what's happening inside the cafe. But for example, when you look at the teamwork you need, because there can only be one barista on stage, but you need someone to roast, someone will be cleaning, someone will help you with the flavor descriptors. Most of the baristas, they will have someone helping them with the signature drink. So it's really working as a team.
Yeah, and a lot of them actually have media training, PR training. There's a lot that goes involved. But talk to me about what it's like being on stage. A lot of people watching, a lot of pressure. So what does it feel like to be there? Cameras, people, and obviously, generally, a lot of the times the baristas have sponsors or coffee roasters behind them, so a lot of pressure to deliver also for the people that have sponsored, paid for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years of wages to get them to that point.
Yes. That was my first time on stage at the World Barista Championship. Was a total out-of-body experience. I still remember my coach, he said, André, you say time and you don't forget to breathe. Of course you will breathe. I was pretty sure. So I went on stage, I put my hand up, I said time, and I believe I haven't taken a breath for 15 minutes. I cannot remember any movement or anything I said on stage. Just once I delivered my speech, thanks to my muscles remembering every move and the amount of repetitions we did. I have just spoken according to the script. So after 15 minutes I said time again, and luckily what I said was right. The beverages were delicious and I went to the next round, but it was an out-of-body experience. That was the time after 15 minutes I took the first breath, and I can't remember anything.
You're also a highly competitive person, so being on stage is one thing, but outside the coffee industry, you've run ultra marathons, you've played a sport at a competitive level. So how much of that do you believe helped in the competition, not from the coffee side, but from the, I guess, dedication and persistence and like laser focus of one task, one kind of mission?
Running ultra trails definitely helped me a lot, and the part of running ultra trails that helped me the most was if you run, for example, 160 kilometers and you have to climb 7 or 8 mountains, there will for sure come a time when you're struggling. Yeah. There will be a time where you are in pain or you run through the night and you definitely had enough. Yep. But you need to have a goal. You need to know after 163 kilometers comes the finish line. I want to finish that race. So you need to be focused, and you need to teach yourself, teach your body, tell your body, you need to go through this. And whatever comes, You just need to keep going.
So that helped the focus, and I think the ultra marathons helped through the competition. Post-competition though, you've gone down a scientific rabbit hole, working with universities to publish papers when others have gone on a marketing and PR route. Can you explain to me why did you go into such a rabbit hole? And I know you're a geek, I know you, so it's a bit different, but explain that journey.
I really got intrigued during the 5-month preparation time in Japan by the science behind espresso making. And although we believe we understand espresso extraction from a scientific point of view, we only know very little. And coffee has been well studied when it comes to the extraction. When it comes to grinding, we do not yet well understand how coffee is extracted and how the extraction makes this espresso tasty. So I fully got intrigued. I tried several ways to take, for example, the CO2 out of my coffee. That was my idea that then helped me to be able to roast on stage.
Yeah.
Then I looked at different recipes, at different water composition, at grinding, particle size distribution. I tried to sieve the different particles, try to remix and see how this is going to influence the flow rate. So it was fantastic, but it was just opening Pandora's box. And once it was open, I got in touch with the university in Zurich. I published some of my experiments on Facebook. That is when Professor Cahan Yeridzian from the Zurich University of Applied Science got in touch with me. André, what are you working on? I was measuring, for example, also the residual amount of oxygen in capsule coffee. And that was the moment he said, let's come to the university, let's speak how we can collaborate. And this collaboration ended up in a presentation in Portland, Oregon in 2018, where I talked about grinding and coffee extraction at the ASIC forum. That's a coffee scientific forum that has every 2 years a gathering, and after this we also published the results. And it's fascinating when you look at coffee in detail, how you can improve it. And I believe that the science part of coffee will take us to the next level.
Talking about the next level, where do you see, could be a broad question, so take it whichever way you want, but the coffee industry or coffee going, whether it be home world, cafe world, roasting world, do you see it going down the automation line? Do you see it becoming specialized in like an art? Where do you see the road ahead for coffee?
I believe when I'm looking at coffee in consistency.
Yeah.
The best coffee is for everyone a different coffee. And I believe that is the beauty of coffee. That is also the result of a sensory study at the UC Davis University in the US. There is not one perfectly brewed coffee for everyone. There are different preferences. And that makes also the coffee industry, from my point of view, so attractive. Everybody likes another coffee. So that is fine for me to understand. But that once you like that coffee, it should be possible to consistently repeat that experience, especially when it comes to a coffee shop. Here in Australia, certain cafes, they do more than 1,000 cups a day.
Yep.
So you come in the morning, maybe before you go to work, then you come at lunchtime because you want to have another coffee, and then around 2, before the cafe will close, you grab your third cup. It's always the same coffee, so I believe it's important to deliver the same quality, the same consistent quality. And that is the future, to get even more consistent in a busy cafe. And that's where we see at the moment a lot of automation.
Yeah.
On the other hand, when I look at coffee at home, especially now during the pandemic, I have seen that many coffee lovers bought new equipment from home. coffee making is not rocket science, but you need to understand the basics.
Yeah.
You need to understand the water quality. You cannot just take any water to brew your coffee. Then you should follow a recipe. You need to grind your coffee and everything. So we need to teach the basics of coffee, but we also have to keep in mind not everybody is a coffee nerd. Not everyone has 5 month time to extract 23,000 coffees to get that perfectly extracted coffee. So we must make it easy for the home baristas to brew coffee at home, and specialty coffee is not that easy to brew. Some of them are extremely lightly roasted. So you need a high performance grinder, you need to have the precise water, you need to brew according to the recommendation. So that's sometimes very hard and makes it difficult to make specialty coffee accessible. So simple ways to brew tasty coffee at home, I think, is another part we have to focus on.
Simple ways to brew tasty coffee consistently. One thing that resonates with me from what you were saying is, for me personally, coffee's always been, I've always thought of as a coffee moment, whether it's a moment having coffee by yourself and that's your time to reflect where the world pauses, and it doesn't matter if it's a mocha pot or espresso machine, pour over, whatever it might be, that moment in time, whether you enjoy the art or you just want a capsule machine and you have that coffee to yourself, or that moment where you bring together friends, family, might be at home or at the cafe. So I think coffee is beautiful in the element that it pauses in time and it allows you to connect with people, but everyone's got a different version of what that looks like for them. And I think that's kind of cool. Like you did say that not everyone likes the same coffee. There is not a perfect formula, it's a personal thing. But I do, it just made me think, I do like that notion in coffee.
This is how coffee started in coffee houses.
Yeah.
So people came together, they gathered, they exchanged their experiences, not about coffee, not at all about coffee. Yeah. There were philosophers meeting, you would exchange, you met people that traveled, and they all came together in a coffee house and they shared their life experiences. So it is all about the encounters that coffee can make happen. So that is beautiful. So if you go to a cafe, it is beautiful to meet people, to talk to them, not about coffee, but it's an amazing catalyst to make encounters happen. And that's the beautiful side of coffee.
For example, this morning we were having a coffee before this, talking about photography, because you did start in fashion photography early on. I think the coffee is just a magnet that draws a moment together. Talking about coffee, when you wake up in the morning, what's your go-to coffee method? Do you have one or do you vary, or what does a morning look like?
It's very difficult to say. So I have different ways of making coffee. Obviously I have access to an espresso machine in my working place, so I can have espresso there. But to wake up in the morning, I have to say I quite like to have a filter coffee.
Yeah.
So from Carlos, when he competed last year in Milan, I got an origami filter dripper. I love it for its look, the pink color, the shape, the glossy, smooth surface. So I like a lot making a pour over and just start the day easy. And then I have to say I just love the milk here in Australia, and I might go a little bit later and have a flat white.
Nice. Andre, thank you again for coming on. Now, as mentioned, you've written a book. We're going to throw the book on the website. I think books are important. I love reading. It gives you access to so much knowledge, and almost I feel like when I'm reading, I'm talking to that person. Sometimes a person I might not have access to. So to give access to everyone, we're going to put it on the website. All proceeds from the book will donate to a charity of your choice. It's about getting the knowledge out there for those that want to follow the journey. For those that have questions for Andre or myself, let us know in the comments below. And like always, if this video has brought you value, hit that thumbs up and please subscribe. See you on the next video. And thank you again, Andre.
Thank you.